Namaskar friends, this is NJ, your host on this channel. In this video, we will have our discussion on certain alignments surrounding around the marriage. Like when we talk about all those people who get married on time, and when I use the word time, so depending on the tradition, culture, era, country you are living in. And then there are those cases where the marriage gets delayed, and in those cases where marriage is completely denied. So what are the combinations or how it has been explained in the classical text? That is something which we will try to understand in this video. Now guys, as you know that all of my topics are picked up from the way planets are behaving in transit. So you know that currently Venus is in affliction in the transit, and lately the pattern which I have been seeing, the kind of consultations I am getting, and specifically the query. So there has been pattern that a lot many people are booking their reading and they want to know about the concerns of the marriage. So I hope this video will prove to be self-explanatory, that if you have some doubts, if you have some queries, so to an extent this will give you a perspective that you can study the combinations in your own chart. So okay guys, let's just start with the discussion. So guys, before we will even get into discussion, first of all it's important for you to understand which all players are involved when it comes down to understand the relationship, or this could be marriage as well. So in our natal chart, the houses, if I were to pick the houses first house becomes very important because it describes your personality, like what is your objective, your view of the world. Are you a rebel who does not believe in any tradition, any values, or you are a very law abiding, culture abiding person? So first house becomes very important. After that, second house is also important because second house tells about your family, not only your tradition, values, but also your family. After that guys, fourth house needs to be given attention because fourth house tells about your domestic life. Fourth house also tells about your definition of happiness. Like there are those cases where people get married only for the sake of community or for the society, but deep inside, do you crave for companionship or not? That we get to know from the fourth house. After that, definitely fifth house is the original house of love, of romance. After that guys, seventh house, because if you have to get into any of the committed relationship, seventh house has to be in a strengthened state. After that guys, I would say that 11th house and 12th house is also important because 11th house is the house of wish fulfillment and 12th house is the house of bed pleasure. So all the sexual activities and all, so because of which 12th house needs to be given attention as well. When it comes down to the planets, so definitely guys, Venus becomes very important because Venus signifies love, romance, relationship, your adjustment in relationship, endurance, and kind of compromising and adjusting for the sake of love. So Venus becomes very important, that sort of charm and attraction. Mars becomes very important because in a way, in certain alignments, Mars also represents kind of your sexual desires as well. And like the way Venus is important in a man's chart, same way both Mars and Jupiter are important in a woman's chart to find a compatible partner. And after that guys, because these are the planets which are important, and the planets which can be creating a trouble or issue definitely are the malefics, and specifically Saturn is the chief problem causing for any of the delays or denial of the relationship or of the marriage. After that guys, Rahu Ketu also plays a very important role, and to an extent Sun also plays a role. Like Rahu and Ketu not only can deny the marriage, create misunderstanding within the relationship, but also a lot many times whatsoever the karmic kind of punishment is there in your chart, that is also seen from decoding the role of Rahu and Ketu in your chart. And like the way guys I said, Sun more than giving you happiness and lasting relationship or sustenance in the relationship, many times Sun actually proves to be causing problem in the sustenance of relationship. Like you will soon get to know that if Sun has combust Venus, if Sun is placed very close to the degrees of the Venus, a lot many times it can create problems. So okay guys, now we will have our discussion on the three categories, and I have just summarized, I have made the points as the way it has been mentioned in the classical text. So guys, starting first with the combinations for You can call it earlier marriage or you can call it a marriage on time. So basis the community tradition you are from. Like definitely when we talk about the metropolitan cities, over there people get married in their early 30s, mid 30s, even in 40s. But the more we go to the countryside and all, so there is a trend over there to get married early in their life, like in the early 20s. So basis that whatsoever tradition, culture, era you are living in. So when we talk about a early marriage or a marriage at the right time, what could be the combinations you have to look forward to? So guys, the very first point which I have written over here is that placement of benefic in the first and seventh house axis. So definitely first house is you, seventh house is your projection, seventh house is the relationship. So if you will find benefic planets being placed over there, see, natural benefic planets are Moon, Mercury, Venus and Jupiter, and definitely basis the role they are playing for your Lagna. But in general, the natural benefics being placed in the first and the seventh house axis is a win-win situation. Second point I have written over here is that there are no malefics in the second and eighth house axis. Like the way I mentioned, second house tells about your family. Eighth house is a very problem causing house, and along with that, in lot many cases, if malefics are placed over there, so your soul is carrying some sort of curse, some sort of unusual problem, some sort of ancestry, like the way we say in Hindi as Pitra dosha. So if malefics are placed in the second house and eighth house axis, it's not a good indication. So for someone to be married on time, there has to be no malefics in the second and the eighth house axis. After that, guys, the third point is that benefics should not be retrograde. Now I do not know, not a lot has been mentioned over there, but generally it has been seen that not only Venus but to an extent Jupiter as well, that with certain combinations, if you will find benefics to be retrograde, it's not a good indication, not a supportive factor. So yes, for marriage to take place on time or for an early marriage, benefics should not be retrograde. After that, guys, Venus is not combust. It has been observed that if Venus is combust in the horoscope, it delays marriage even in case of rich and good looking person. So whatsoever the requirements are for you to be a eligible candidate, like you are good looking, well educated, good family background, even you are willing to get married, but still if you will find that Venus is combust, in lot many cases it delays marriage. And guys, it has nothing to do with, there is nothing called right or wrong, it's like for your own good. Now another point is that for a marriage to take place on time, Lagna Lord has to be strong. Your ascendant Lord has to be strong, because whatsoever major event happens in our life, our ascendant Lord has to permit that, has to allow that, has to be in harmony with that. So nothing could be better than that. If your ascendant Lord is exalted, placed in a good houses like trine houses, placed in a friendly sign, so then it will be a supporting factor. And guys, in certain cases, like for example for the Sagittarius Lagna, ascendant Lord Jupiter, even if it is placed in the 8th house, it is exalted over there, but just because it has gone to the 8th house, there will still be certain condition, do's and don'ts or unusuality which native might have to experience. After that, guys, so we are talking about combinations for early marriage. So if you will find Jupiter is placed quite close to Venus with no other planet intervening, it's a good combination. 7th Lord is in the 7th house. It means that house is well guarded, well protected. Placement of Lagan Lord, ascendant Lord, and 7th Lord close to each other degree wise, it is a good combination. And also, guys, if you will find that the ascendant Lord and 7th house Lord are closely conjunct, so definitely you will find a very compatible partner who will serve purpose in your journey. After that, if you will find that closeness of ascendant Lord to the 7th Lord, we discussed that. Closeness of ascendant Lord to Venus, that is also a win-win factor. And after that, guys, if you will find several planets in 5th house, Sun, Moon not afflicted and beneficially aspected, this can be seen as, all these are the points which can indicate towards early marriage. Now guys, a lot of you will be saying this thing that I did not include Navamsa over here, but again, major prediction, major areas of your life can be scrutinized only looking at your ascendant chart. Definitely for our curiosity, for digging deeper, we can go to different divisional chart, we can apply different principles as well, but Lagan chart, ascendant chart is sufficient enough to give you information of the major areas of your life. And definitely guys, what profession you will undertake, what will you do as a part of your living, who you will marry to, how your matrimonial life is going to be, or childbirth. These are the things which can be successfully predicted from your ascendant chart in itself. Okay guys, the next category on which we will have our discussion is about late marriage, or you can say delayed marriage. So again, depending on the kind of country, culture, era, tradition, society, community you are living in, basis that what could be the combination which will indicate that. And these days guys, it's very common, people in the early half, they focus more on towards their career, building up their career, and in lot many cases they are into different relationships but not mature or ready enough to commit. So whatsoever condition is getting applicable, but what has been mentioned in the classical text, I'm mentioning it over here. So the first thing is that if you will find strong malefics like Saturn, Mars in 1st and 7th or 2nd, 8th house, it can indicate towards late marriage. So again guys, all of the houses which are primarily promises marriage or relationship, they should be in the influence of the benefic planets. The only difference between the nature of the benefic planet and malefic planet is that benefic planet can give you things with ease and grace. When it comes down to the malefic planets like Mars, Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, Sun, you have to earn it, you have to struggle regarding the prospects, and you have to go through, and a lot many times they also carry a lot of the karmic debt, karmic issues as well, which needs to be resolved through discipline, divine surrender, religious austerities. But yes guys, for late or delayed marriage, strong malefics like Saturn, Mars in the 1st, 7th or 2nd, 8th house axis is not a very supporting factor. Second point is that 7th lord aspected by strong malefics and combust can also indicate late marriage or delayed marriage. Benefics are retrograde. Like the way guys I mentioned this thing, if you will find specifically Venus, Jupiter and Mars to be retrograde, like Mars and Jupiter becomes more important in a woman's chart, but in general Venus most likely if you will find retrograde, so it a lot many times indicate a late marriage or delayed marriage. Next point is Venus is combust. So again guys, Venus being combust, now you have to understand this thing, like Sun has the power to combust planets, but there are those planets which are friendly to it or which are immune to it. When we talk about Venus, Venus do not see Sun as its friend. So not only it sees Sun as an enemy influence to it, over and above that there's so much of the heat which is coming to Venus which is making it go combust. So that is the only reason which could be indicative of late marriage or delayed marriage. After that guys, horoscope has Mangal dosha or the Manglik dosha. So if you have Mars being placed in your 1st house, 4th house, 7th house, 8th house, 12th house, that indicates Mangal dosha, which in itself means that your energies are going in the houses which primarily can indicate harmony in the marriage. So we say this thing that after a certain age, the force, the intensity, the madness of Mars starts getting mellowed down. So if you will end up in a relationship when your energies are at its peak and you're not able to handle it, so it will not support harmony in the relationship. So that is the reason that we whenever those people who have Mangal dosha, we either look for a compatible person so that both of your energies should match, or in the second half of life when your energies have toned down, you will know the chemistry, adjustment and harmony of relationship. So yes, if a horoscope has Mangal dosha in combination with other attributes which I have mentioned, it could indicate late marriage or delayed marriage. After that guys, if you will find that 12th house is not under double affliction. Now understand this thing, why I mentioned not under affliction, because let's say for example with other combinations, if you will find that 12th house is still unafflicted, because 12th house tells about your sexual kind of bed pleasure and sexual chemistry. So if 12th house is not afflicted, there is still a scope that it might happen, it might get delayed, but the combination for experiencing happiness and bliss through relationship is still there. After that, guys, 4th house is under affliction. Now just because if you have Saturn, you have Mars, you have kind of very malefic planets being placed in the 4th house. So, and as you know guys, that when we talk about malefic planets, they get mature at the end of all the planetary vibration. So like for example, Mars matures at 28 years of age, Saturn matures at 36, Rahu matures at 42. So it's just like that. When we say a planet is getting matured, we means that the planetary energy is now not scattered, unbridled, it's more controlled and focused. So that is the only reason if malefic planets are having any say, so we say that take those major decisions in the second half of the life, because now energy is in control and you will be in right set of mind in order to take right decision pertaining to that house. So 4th house, which is a very important house, because it is not only about a domestic life but inner happiness, emotional happiness as well. In lot many cases, if you will ask people like what their life expectations were when they were like 21, 22, and you will ask the same people like down the line when they are 40 or they are 38, they are 45. So priorities change, and specifically people who have malefic planets in their 4th house, their priorities changes, because now the malefic energy of those planets have toned down. After that, guys, Darakaraka is not afflicted, because here I am talking about that certain combinations that you are already, let's say for example, you very earnestly want to be married, be in a relationship, start a family, and it is not working out for you. So all these are the saving graces over here, that irrespective of the fact that you have certain combinations, but just because your 12th house is not afflicted, your Darakaraka is not afflicted, so that means scope is still there. And guys, Darakaraka, for all those people who do not know, planet with the lowest degree in your chart is the planet which is responsible for your relationship or marriage or matrimonial harmony. Now guys, the last point for the late or delayed marriages, the results of 7th from Venus are important. So you have to not only see what is happening to Venus in the chart, but what is the condition of the 7th house from the Venus also you have to give attention. And lastly guys, like the way when we talk about the late marriage and delayed marriage and all, so Saturn is significator of that, because the thing is, when benefic planets can create harmony, or you can crave for bliss, enjoyment, happiness, Saturn dominant people are very dry, they are very rough, or they do not have that capacity to experience that happiness on the account of personal intimacy, so relationship and all. So because of which Saturn dominant in horoscope is aversion to marriage, excessive caution, lack of enterprise, and extreme diffidence. So that could be responsible for that. And definitely guys, the last point is that if you will find Lagan Lord, ascendant Lord in the 12th, it delays marriage or marriage life, is wrecked, especially, and so sorry, I'll just break it down. So first point is that ascendant Lord in the 12th house can delays marriage, and also if you will find 8th Lord in the 7th or 7th Lord in the 8th is also indicating in the same direction. After that guys, the last category for today is about the way it has been mentioned in the classical text, that what could be the combination which could indicate denial of marriage. Like we have seen so many charts of, like even I remember looking at the chart of Indian president, ex-Indian president APJ Abdul Kalam. He was a scholarly person, but he never got married. I guess one of the Indian ex-prime minister, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he was also bachelor. So again guys, there are a couple of things. Now when I say denial of marriage, so when we say marriage, it's about there is a law which is involved over there. There is a kind of taking your vows via making gods as witness is involved. In lot many cases, when we say denial of marriage, the way it has been written in the classical text, it has been written that only you will get into relationship, personal intimacy only after taking the vows. But in the modern day context, and people who are dominated by Rahu, they are gonna do everything which is against the tradition, against the law of the nature of the society. So in lot many cases, looking at the chart or looking at the personal life, you might find and get to know that these people are not married, but still they have an active sexual life. So again, for that there's a lot of combination which goes into play. So Rahu is a chief significator of taking you against the norms and laws of the society. So again guys, the few points which I have mentioned over here is that, first of all, for denial of marriage, you will find that Moon and Venus are under full control of Saturn. So again, Saturn is a chief planet which is responsible for delays or denial or creating lot of disinterest in the intimacy, harmony, and lot many cases like afflicted Saturn might also make you incapable enough of handling any responsibility, and marriage is a big responsibility. So yes guys, Moon and Venus under full control of Saturn. Second point which I mentioned over here is that a combination of Saturn and Moon, this gives a thirst for spiritualism, vairagya, and detachment is developed, and the mind is set to achieve salvation. One has no interest in marriage, and specifically in the horoscope of like Swami Vivekananda, you will find that Moon is in the 10th house and is conjunct with Saturn. He had higher idealism. Venus is combust and has the influence of Saturn. After that guys, the few other points which I mentioned over here is that you will find that Mercury in the 7th with 12th lord and 6th lord. Now because we know that Mercury is the unique planet, and 12th house represents bed pleasure, so the 6th lord destroys them. After that, Venus with Mars and 7th lord in 6th or 7th. One has many lovers and has no interest in marriage. It has been observed that the influence of both Sun and Saturn on the 7th house or lord have a great role in denying marriage. Placement of Sun and Saturn in the 1st and 7th house axis, in the 1st or 7th or both hemming in the 7th house, may lead to denial of marriage. So yes guys, I already mentioned this thing. Sun and Saturn, they both are equally capable enough of creating disharmony, either through their presence, either through their aspect, or either through combusting planet, which Sun can do. After that guys, Venus in barren Rashis, zodiac signs, which are considered as Gemini, Leo and Virgo, can also be responsible for that. Interplanetary war in the ascendant. So if you will find very anti-planets being placed in the 1st house, like this could be Jupiter and Rahu, this could be Sun and Saturn, this could be Mars and Mercury, that can also lead towards that, because there is a heavy conflict right there in your complete life, because they are placed in your 1st house. After that guys, placement of Saturn and Mars in Lagna, in 6th or 8th house, or 7th from Navamsa Lagna destroys marriage. So Saturn and Mars in the Lagna in the 6th, 8th house or 7th from the Navamsa Lagna can also contribute to that. After that guys, 7th lord in 6th and weak and debilitated can also indicate towards one of the combination of denial of marriage. After that guys, malefics in 7th or 12th house, waning moon in the 5th or 9th with no aspect of Jupiter. So understand this thing. Malefics like Saturn, kind of Sun is also considered as mild malefic, specifically when we're talking about marriage and all. So if you will find malefics in the 7th or 12th house, a waning moon in the 5th, because waning moon can make you little bit disinterested or pessimistic towards love, harmony or romance, and with no aspect coming in from Jupiter, so it is not a very good combination. After that guys, if you will find Venus and moon in Venus or moon signs or in the 6th or 8th house of Navamsa, it is not considered as a good supportive combination. After that, if you will find if Venus and its dispositor are in 6th and 8th position and other factors are there which we have just mentioned and discussed, a woman generally is not treated well in her partner's house, in husband's house. So again guys, as you know that Venus might be placed in the, let's say for example, Scorpio. The lord of the Scorpio is Mars. So if Venus is placed in Scorpio, so let's say for example, if Mars is placed in the Aries, or Mars is placed in the Gemini, so it is a 6-8 combination which is getting formed, which is not considered as very favorable, because Venus and its dispositor is in this kind of conflicting alignment. After that guys, if you will find that Sun is in Gemini with the aspect of Saturn, makes a girl lifelong virgin. Now it has been found in many charts of people who become a celibate and all. So this is the combination, the way it has been mentioned in the classical text. After that guys, if you will find 7th lord Venus and ascendant in unfertile rashis like Gemini, Leo and Virgo is not a favorable indication. After that, if you will find that 3 lagnas like your sun lagan, your moon lagan and your ascendant having aspect of Saturn. So like this is getting validated in both the 3 alignments. Like from your ascendant, your moon is being aspected by Saturn, and your sun, moon and ascendant being aspected by Saturn, in short, is not a good combination. After that guys, if you will find Venus, sun and moon all afflicted by Saturn, so that also could be a combination of denial of marriage. Again guys, you have to see in combination with all these points which I have mentioned. That is the only reason. Only a strong Mercury, having a strong calculative mind, cannot make you a astrologer or a psychic. You need to have a strong Ketu as well, that divine intuition to connect the dots. And like the way I mentioned this thing, marriage is seen from the context of law, from the context of the laws of the society, where we take the vows taking gods as witness and the law and everything. But if Rahu is strong, in the eyes of society, you are single, you are bachelor, but still you are enjoying and getting all the pleasures, because you are doing things against the tradition and against the ethics. So yes guys, that is one of the way of studying different alignments for different form of relationship. And because Venus is in affliction, I've been receiving a lot of the queries surrounding around it, so I just wanted to compile one complete video only on this topic. So guys, for further more updates and notifications on the divine science of Vedic astrology, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook page. Dhanyavad.